Going to start session 2, right, in the name of God. A'udhu billahi, this is very relevant. A'udhu, I seek refuge from Satan. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name of God, the most beneficent and merciful. So this session is session 2. For those who are joining us like fresh, like Dr. James String and David in UK. This is, Baba Yunus is joining from the Africa Islamic Economic Forum. I think he's coming back. Okay, so basically this, welcome to the newcomers. So this is the Global Vision, welcome to the Global Vision 2000 Eschatology Conference, billed as entering the final stages of end times. The morning session was quite intriguing and quite deep.
Himself.
Good grief. Yeah, okay, I will send him a text. Okay, over to you. Thank you, Clive. That was very important because just for your information, Imam, why that was important is that we're not just facing in the what you call current eschatological time, wars. Let's put it mildly, wars in the Middle East and indeed elsewhere, but a crash. Well, the system is dying. Yeah. Since 2008, if not before. So these two storms, wars and money crash, if you want to call it, are coming together. So basically, what I would like now is Brother Imam Karim from US to speak on Sham, which historically is, which includes the Holy Land. Palestine and greater area, Imam Mahdi, Khilafat and Liberation. Just one point. Historically, Global Vision has been very interested in this topic, but the people who have spoken, I mean, I can even mention names, some are dead. People like, Daud Musa Pidcock, leader of Islamic Party of Britain. He's written books. And others. It's been very rare to get imams come out in the open, to speak, especially based on authority, research, language studies, knowing the first sources. So knowledge of Islamic tradition, Arabic language, Quran, Hadith, and also geopolitics, very rare. And also to speak in an interfaith context. I have to be open. I've got 10,000 videos on our forum. Very few Muslim imams are able to speak in English with Jews and Christians and have a proper, deep discussion. They're talking to themselves. But the real world, you cannot just talk to yourself. They're living with other civilizations. So over to you, Imam.
Thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate your presentation. As you know from my title, or you see from my title, that I'm approaching the subject from the window or the lenses of theology, following authenticated and transmitted accounts from the prophetic time. Whatever I'm going to say is not my opinion or something that I made up or my geopolitical read of the situation. It's actually something that we believe it is written and it shall be done, whether we like it or not. For a Muslim, typically the perception of God is very important when we discuss these issues. We believe that the Almighty is the one who ordains things to take place. But certain things that we may not like, but they will have to happen because there is a purpose behind it. The danger is when you forge your own version and attribute it to God and believe in it and actually drive it through your canons, whether it is media, whether it is education. The idea of bringing Zionists to the land of Palestine started with the Protestant, the 16th century, when their guy really didn't like the Catholic approach of Christianity, and he thought he wanted to do some favor for the Jewish people by getting them to believe in Jesus. So he promoted that idea in England, that for Jesus to return, we have to group the children of Israel back in their land. And somehow this idea became appealing to the politician of the time, like Balfour and others. And it kind of coincided with the atrocities of Hitler. So they drove it. The Protestant drove the idea. It was appealing to the politician. And they started actually planting this idea in the minds and hearts of lots of Christians and Zionists, that this is their land. And they promoted the notion that land without people for people without land, and all these lies that, people are discovering these days. So they went there, and now the Zionists had their own version of things. And I really see that the Zionists are using the Christians and the Christians are using the Zionists. That's how I'm reading the situation. You see, the Christians don't want to put the work. They don't want to go out there and bring Jesus back. So let's send the Zionists out there and do the work and deal with these savage Arabs, Muslims. And not only that, they actually came up with another formula that a major war has to happen for Jesus to return, to sneak in. If you read the literature carefully, you'll find out what they call Armageddon, the East and the West. And Netanyahu actually showed the map, the black and the light in the United Nations. Again, this is a forced ideology, is not God. And as Muslims, we actually believe that when God ordains certain things that we do not like, we shouldn't drive it. We should actually work hard to avoid it. I'll give you an example of death. God ordained death upon all of us. All of us, we will die. It's not a good thing, but we will die. It's ordained. It's written. But we're not supposed to pursue it because it's written. Actually, when you get sick, you're supposed to find a remedy and you're supposed to go and get well. Actually, you pursuing death is a major sin in our theology, which we call committing suicide. What I'm trying to say is, even the wars and killing and bombing others and all that stuff, we shouldn't be propagating it and in order to force the hands of God to bring Jesus back or to bring, the Jewish Messiah back. You see, and the danger of this when you get politicians, people who actually make calls or control the world, believing in that. That statement by Biden, President Biden, still echo in my ears. If Israel did not exist, we would have made one. Is really a profound statement. That because that's an ideology, we believe in that. Jimmy Carter just passed away a couple of days ago, maybe a week ago. He was a firm believer in this. You got Netanyahu and his cabinet now, this Smotrich guy and Ben Gvir. And these guys are firm believers in that Zionist. And again, I'm using the word Zionist because I know lots of Jews are not conforming this ideology. They are not. They don't believe that. They actually believe their presence in the in the land of Palestine at this time and age is against, which is correct. You know, they're not supposed to be there. I have come across lots of Jewish rabbis and conversed with them. You know, this is the people in power now are driving this, but they don't realize, and that's the funny piece, that Muslims have their own narrative. I don't know if it's me echoing or someone else. I don't know.
One second, let me get that. It's a bit irritating. Could everyone? 1 second. I think it's coming from. How about now? Is it okay now?
Well, I haven't spoken yet.
Yeah. There's no. Carry on. Yeah.
You see, Muslims have their own narratives, which we believe in. And listen, you can change it. You cannot change it. Or by installing your own puppets in the Muslim world to serve the interest of the West and the agenda of the Zionists is not going to change it, because it's written. And something so unique about our guidance, our revelation is preserved. It's in the books. Nobody can change it. What is the narrative that we have? Our messenger told us exactly what the Muslim world will evolve, will go through. He said, after me, there will be rightly guided for 30 years. You're going to be led by good people, in reference to Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, 30 years of rightly guided leaders. Then after that, you're going to shift to abiding kinship. Abiding kinship in reference to the Umayyad, the Abbasid, and that these dynasties, almost 1300 years. But he spoke about the fall of the Islamic governance, the year 1924, with the fall of the Ottoman. The Prophet actually spoke about that. And then he said, you will shift into what we call tyrannical, oppressive rulers. People who are not serving the interests of the Muslim world or the Muslims, but people who are serving the interest of the West and the agenda of the West. And that is why you're not surprised to see Egypt, for example, helping the Zionists kill more Palestinians in Gaza, blocking the food. And you're not surprised to find the King of Jordan protecting the borders. Because these guys, their interest in, they were placed there actually to serve the agenda there. Now, here's the surprising piece, which a lot of people do not know. And I'm sure after that tyrannical, oppressive phase of governance in the Muslim world, actually the Muslim world will completely shift to Khilafah, what we call Khilafah, Islamic governance again. It will come back again, Islamic governance. It's written, it shall be done. It's not something that, you know, we're going to debate here. Well, let's, you know, and guess where it's going to be? Even he identified the location of it, Baytul Maqdis, what we call Jerusalem. We actually approaching this. And he actually mentioned 100 years. There will be 100 years. And you will be surprised to find out how everything coincides together. The Khilafah, the Islamic governance, fall 1924, the Ottoman. Sykes-Picot came and they split the Muslim world into small compartments. Puppets were installed to serve their interest. 100 years. We just passed the year 2024. That's 100 years. It's amazing. It coincides with the saga of the Jewish theology or the Jewish, you know, Netanyahu himself was talking about that the Zionist or the Jewish state never passed the 8th decade. So we're actually looking at a very small window, and all what you see now happening is all leading to that. So that's our Muslim version of things, that the Muslims will come back and will unite and will defeat all these forces. We believe that. It's something that is written. But again, this doesn't mean that, you know, Bayt al-Maqdis or Jerusalem would be just exclusive to Muslims. You see, our messenger, Prophet Muhammad, the city that he migrated to was a very unique city, which is, we call Medina or Yathrib. It had multi-cultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religions. We had Jews there. We had remnants of Christianity. The tribal system was the dominant system, the dominant culture at the time. We had a lot of people, but yet, through divine help, he introduced one of a kind, which is, we call the Charter of Medina, the Constitution of Medina. You see, when the Muslims conquered Bayt al-Maqdis after his demise, Umar replicated that in Bayt al-Maqdis in Jerusalem. That's why Jews can live there. We actually read that Christians, when they handed over Umar the keys, they made it a condition that Jews are not allowed to come here. He said, no, this land is for everybody. So this is the pattern. We actually read that one of the dynasties, it's called the Fatimite, messed up this charter of Medina, which was replicated in Jerusalem, and they actually started imposing upon the Christian and the Jews unbalanced, unfair practices. Like they forced the Christians, for example, to put on a huge cross to identify. They forced the Jews to have a huge cow in there, which is totally against the teachings of Islam and this charter. And that's what triggered the Crusades. But this dynasty, which we call the Fatimite, they were not following or adherents of Islamic theology the way it is. They made up their own theology. It's a distorted version of Islam. That is why when Salah ad-Din came back, he replicated again the same exact Charter of Medina. The Ottoman, likewise. But look at this place now. The Zionists, they wanted to be an apartheid, just for the Jews. Christians are not allowed. They may live, but second, third citizen, not. They are serving us. Muslims, on the other hand, you got that Islamic pattern, which was successful during Umar, and this is what the Islamic governance or the Khilafah would bring. The Khilafah, we actually read that in the eschatology that some of the Jews will actually decide to stay after the Khilafah comes. Because you can live, I mean, you can live in a Muslim. We always had Jews living in a Muslim land. You know, you will be surprised to find out that all the literature that we have in the Muslim world regarding the slaughter or the atrocities Hitler did against the Jewish community in Europe are translated. The anti-Semitism thing. Because we always had Jews living in the Muslim world and they were at peace. You know, nothing wrong. They actually ran businesses. We had them in Egypt. I'm from Egypt. We had them in Morocco. We had them in Iraq. So all the literature that we have regarding the Holocaust and all that stuff is actually translated because it happened in Europe. Christians did this to the Jewish community, and now they had Muslims pay for it. So the point I'm trying to make is, you know, with the return of the Islamic governance is the solution. Because for the Islamic governance to be valid, which the Prophet described that it will be fair and balanced because it will follow my pattern, meaning justice will be implemented in this part of the world. Because this is the only way for free faith to exist in this part of the world. You see, Jerusalem for Muslims are diehard. Yeah, you may get some, you know, progressive, some people who don't actually believe. They may appease you by saying, well, no, for me as a Muslim, Jerusalem is my heart. Baytul Maqdis is my heart. Al-Aqsa is my heart. And I would be willing to do anything within my ability and capacity, within the boundaries of the laws, to actually, prevent it from being completely confiscated by Ben Gvir and all these guys who are out there. So the point I'm trying to make here is this is where we're heading to, a confrontation between Islam and the Christians. And when I say the Christians, the Zionist Christians and the Zionist world. It's happening, and it will happen. But very interesting, and again, this is my read. We do have some evidence that somehow this collide, or the conflict or the clash, which really the Christian and the Jewish, the Zionists are driving, which is the Armageddon, they refer to the Armageddon, somehow is going to happen. That nuclear war or World War III, it will happen. It's written. It is written, and it will happen. But here is the funny thing. It will happen between the two enemies of the Muslim world. The Zionists, helped by America and Europe being in the back seat here, fighting Iran, which for a Sunni Muslim, I'm a Sunni, I'm not a Shia. For me, Iran is a foe, not a helper. Iran, Shia Islam, they have their own agenda. They have their own, geopolitical aspirations. Russia and China. This war will take place, but guess what? This will weaken both the Zionist and Iran, and that is where the Muslims will have their chance to jump in. And I'm so amazed, and I don't know if you guys are following the, the politics of the world. We had actually a mini kind of picture of that when Israel were unable to handle Hezbollah, the Zionist, the Shia axis of resistance. Their only way was to let the Sunni come in Syria. That's exactly how it's going to happen. We're going to fight it out, and then you get the Sunni coming in and take over Syria, basically. If I'm a Zionist, you guys are making a very bad decision, because the Sunni, you can work with the Shia, but the Sunni, no way. No way. They are hardcore, and actually they are waking it. The Zionists have waken up to this fact. What did we do? Now we created another axis, Turkey, and Sunni kind of resistance. And instead, that's more dangerous on us than. But you see, we believe that when God wants things to happen, He just paves the way for it. And sometimes the enemies and the opponents of the revelation and God can drive actually the world, so that whatever He ordained is to come to pass. So this is in a nutshell, really, what I want to share with you, that very soon, Khilafah, and when I say Khilafah, Islamic governance. And again, Islamic governance doesn't mean that you're going to kill everybody. Islamic governance is some just ruler who will unite the Muslim world, bring them back together, and demo all these Sykes-Picot, if you're familiar with that treaty of Sykes-Picot, where they divided the Muslim world into small compartments, and unite the Muslim world again. And that's why, by the way, the MBS, MBZ, CC, all these guys are fighting this. They know that when the Khilafah returns, when the Islamic governance returns, that means they are gone. They are fighting it. Imagine they are fighting the Syrians in restoration of their power. They're trying to make it feel like they did the Morsi guy in Egypt, and they're going to work hard. But you see, time is up, and really, the people of Gaza were the sacrifice of the Ummah, of the Muslim world. But we believe that they will be remembered when the Islamic governance is restored in Bayt al-Maqdis. And again, I want to echo this again. This doesn't mean that Islamic governance, that means, no, they just, Muslims are going to be uniting in, because we really have in common our beliefs, which transcend beyond any boundaries, any geographical. Egyptian and Syrian and all that stuff is fake, all fake. And you know, the creed or the belief system is what unites us. Again, you know, we as Muslims look at this as inspirational. You know, when I actually talk to my congregation, trying to, you know, raise their morale and boost their spirit because of what they see, I always use the example or the parallel of the children of Israel in Egypt. When they were under bondage, they actually started speaking of a deliverer, of a baby boy who will be born. And he will destroy you, Pharaoh, and destroy your injustice against us. And that's what got the Pharaoh actually to start killing the newborn boys. Of course, he didn't know that Moses would actually be taking care of him. So likewise, you know, we, in the midst of all these disparity, and we have hope. And the hope is the restoration of the Islamic governance, and the restoration of the Khilafah in Bayt al-Maqdis, in Jerusalem, the heart of the Levant. And whatever you see happening and unfolding around this part of the world is leading to that. And unfortunately, one of them would be that World War III, or they call it Armageddon. This is not an Islamic thing, which will weaken the opponents of Islam and Muslims, allowing them to restore this Khilafah. I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Imam Karim. That was very succinct, but this is not a question. It's just helping your presentation, which I've done to others. You have written, I've looked at your videos. Indeed, I've uploaded them on our electronic forum, and also you've written a book. Can you give a summary? Because I think one of the key things that struck me was you're claiming that, you didn't go into the topic, it deserves a conference, that the Imam Mahdi, which is a title, by the way, for the non-Muslims, the rightly guided Muslim leader who's obviously linked to these events coming before Isa. Many Muslims that I've come across, scholars and general public, link the Islamic revival, or Khilafah for that matter, with Imam Mahdi. Now, you, in your research, which I think is quite interesting, can you expand on that? I think you're trying to say there are 12 Khilafahs, and we're at a number, whatever. Maybe you can clarify?
Yeah, intentionally, the talk of the restoration of the Khilafah is not something that is favored by the leaders of the Muslim world. Like I said earlier, that the restoration of the Islamic governance, is the word Khilafah appealing to you, or should I just use Islamic governance? I don't know. You're familiar with the word Khilafah? No? Terminology.
I mean, many non-Muslims are, but unfortunately, in my view, it's been demonized with ISIS, etc. But I agree with you. Khilafah, just a penny's worth. Khilafah is an Islamic political institution
It's actually a technical term. That's why when ISIS came out, everybody who has ABC knowledge of Islamic theology, oh, these guys are fakers. They are not. Because the Khilafah, which the Prophet spoke about, will be restored in Baytul Maqdis. These guys claimed it to be in Iraq or somewhere in Syria. This is number one. Number two, these caliphs will have to be from a certain descent, which we call Quraysh. Now, our messenger spoke of 12 of them. So far, we got 5. So we're missing 7. So now, here is the piece that a lot of Muslims are not aware of, that Al-Mahdi, the only really character these knowledgeable people are allowed to speak about is the 7th. But before him, there will be 6 caliphs. You see, like I said, because of these MBS, MBZ, CC, King Abdullah, King of Morocco, for them, the restoration of the Islamic governance is a threat to their thrones. So they control the narrative. So you will not find, a scholar speaking about this without being jailed. That's why Saudi Arabia filled their jails with scholars who speak like that, because that's a threat to the thrones of the people. So the misconception that lots of people have, that we're waiting for Mahdi, some kind of savior, like Jesus, for example, like the Jewish Messiah, the Davidic warrior king, the Jews are, the Jewish community are waiting for. No, we're actually waiting an establishment of an Islamic governance, Islamic system that will gradually, it's not going to be like born like, it's going to start with few countries and gradually it will build up. But Al-Mahdi actually would be the 7th who will hand it over to Jesus. When Jesus returns, according to Islam, he will become the global leader of the world, leading the world to peace and tranquility. Again, this is our narrative, but with one difference. We didn't forge it. We didn't make it up. We didn't wake up in the morning in the 16th century like the Protestant and we came up with the idea, we love the Jews now. Let's, we killed them, so let's just bring them back to their land so Jesus can come back. And you somehow place this in literature that you attribute to God. And you brainstorm people to the extent that you end up with leaders who believe in that. Like Biden, like Netanyahu, like all these guys, they believe in that. Like Ben Gvir, they firm believers in that. And they will drive it. That's why it's a self-destructive, unfortunately. It's not good for the world, but listen, life is a test. We believe this world is a test. This world is not a resting place, is a testing place for all of us. And I think that's the message that I conveyed in my book, Jerusalem, the Arena of Truth and Falsehood. Jerusalem will really be the city that would display truth from falsehood. But again, I want to repeat this for the 3rd time, and I know I did this before. The only pattern of governance which will work in Baytul Maqdis is the pattern the Prophet installed or practiced in Medina, in Yathrib. Umar later on replicated in Baytul Maqdis. Salah ad-Din restored. The Ottoman restored and enhanced. That's the only way for this place to have coexistence. Look at the Jewish project. I'm sorry, the Zionist project. It's unfair to say Jewish because I know Jews, some Jews don't believe in that. Look at the Zionist. Apartheid. Zionists are class and the rest are class. That's not going to work. Nobody is going to accept that, especially the people of the land. You know, that's our land. So you come here and you take away my land and my house, and I'm a third world citizen, and you're nobody's going to like that. I wouldn't teach my children to submit to that. That's cowardice. I'd rather die, but not to accept that. And that's the mindset of many Muslims out there, by the way. That's why people are willing to go and just blow themselves off just to get some Zionist. You know, these guys will go and stampede, or they know they're going to be killed. But I'd rather do that than, is that the right thing to do? No, it is not. You know, the right thing is justice and fairness for everybody.
Thank you very much, Imam. Can you give us the name of the book? Because I know it's a new book. Is that right? What was it called on Jerusalem?
Yeah, it's called Jerusalem, the Arena of Truth and Falsehood.
Arena of, is it also on the internet?
It's in Amazon, yeah. Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. Has it come out or coming out?
Yeah. It's been out for a while.
Right. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we can go on. Everyone can unmute themselves. We're at the Q&A session. The questions can be directed at each other, the speakers. Can I just ask one question to open up with you, Imam, again? You mentioned the Fatimids triggering off the Crusades. I studied one of my teachers way back in the 80s, Edinburgh University, was an expert on the Crusades, Professor Carol Hillenbrand. Now, you mentioned, it's interesting you mentioned the Fatimids, who were an extreme Shia, sect, if you want to call them that, triggering Christian reaction in Crusades. Now, I know the current situation with the Shia, so-called Shia axis, yeah? Although it's called the axis of resistance, it's mainly Shia, right? You know, Iran, Iraqi militias, Hezbollah, obviously, and the Alawites, who many, even Shia, think aren't Muslims, for those who are non-Muslims here. Can you expand on that? I know what you're saying. Basically, the current active resistance against the Zionist state was, by that arc, if you want to call it. How do you explain the current situation, very current, with what's happened with the war over the last, 15 months, yeah? And Sunni Islam. And also, please remember, the Imam Mahdi, I've studied it also, I understand that he doesn't claim he's Sunni or Shia. Maybe you can clarify this point, because it's quite important.
Shia Islam has their own agenda, geopolitical agenda. It's a Persian agenda. They want to restore that Persian history. At one time in history, there was the Romans and the Persian. Islam, killed that Persian. Islam is battling with the Romans, until they managed to twist it for now, twist the Khilafah. But Persia already have their own aspirations. Any Sunni realizes that Persia is not fighting Israel for Israel. No, Persia is fighting Israel, the Zionist, for their own project. The resistance happened to coincide with their geopolitical aspirations. Now like I explained before, regarding the Sunni world, you see, for Sisi to hold his office, he has to implement the agenda of the Zionist. America would remove him immediately if he doesn't do that. For King Abdullah to stay in his office, he has to implement America, Europe, and the Zionist agenda. That is when you have to draw the line and of distinction between these rulers, these puppets, and the people. The people feel completely different. the people are not on the same page like this. And I'm talking about the Sunni world here. And they were actually aching. And some people actually became deceived by the, the Iranian resistance of the whole thing. How come the Zionists are being, faced by the Shia and not the Sunni? Everybody, is puzzling, quite frankly, for which actually drove many Sunni to actually become maybe embracing the Shia form of Islam, at least feel compassionate for it. But only people with little knowledge would fall on this, because they know the Shia agenda is to dominate the Sunni world and to take over the Sunni world. Listen, you saying that Imam Mahdi doesn't claim that he's Sunni or Shia, I disagree with that. You see, there are two narratives regarding Mahdi. There is a Shia narrative, which is more of a sci-fi, a fairy tale, really. That, he's been hiding in a tunnel for almost 1,200 years. If you're familiar with the Shia theology, right? But our Mahdi is totally different. He's someone who will be born who doesn't even know himself. Someone who actually will be born into this world and he doesn't know that he's in Mahdi. And he's going to be so righteous and pious that the people are going to ask him to lead the Muslim world, and he will decline. He will say, no, I'm not interested. Thank you very much. But he will be forced. But you got the Shia, forging all that stuff, forging all this eschatology, exactly like the Protestant and the Zionist. Their Mahdi is going to come out and he's going to destroy the entire Sunni world and establish the Virgin again. You see, it's a very interesting formula that when you look at it, having that panoramic look at it, it really tickles your intellect.
That's an amazing, I'm not interrupting that. That's very, very interesting. It just, some of the things you're saying, the mainstream media, especially in English, it's very rare to hear what you're saying in terms of perspective. But let me open this up to others. Who's got questions?
I have one.
Yes, Dr. James Ring, yes.
I'd like to ask what the relevance of this discussion has been to the future of the world. And I'd like to, as a forecasting person at one stage, we put probabilities on the various possibilities, just to start with, a priori probabilities. You then have to do the research to check them out. I would say that there's an uncertainty about God's choices. These were mentioned at the beginning. Partly because if the God we're talking about chose the Jews, and they, admittedly they're Zionists and not all the Jews, are doing what they're doing in Gaza, then it's not a God that I would regard with any kind of respect. But it's possible that his dicta might prevail. Let's put a 10% chance of it over the next century.
Can you allow me to answer that?
No, just let me finish the four.
Okay.
Got four possibilities. I'll just run through them very quickly. The second one is that we, the people, take control of the planet ourselves. Now that's very difficult. At the current type of democracy that we have isn't really a democracy. It's already run by the people who've got a much better chance of running the world, the oligarchs, in inverted commas. So I would give us maybe a 20% chance of running the world and improving it. The oligarchs, on the other hand, have probably got a much higher chance, say 40%, of winning the job of running the world. They're doing it already. The fourth one that's only just occurred to me, really, is that Islam would take control. Now, although I'm totally agnostic, I agree that the philosophy that Islam perpetrates on the world is rather more fair than either the Christian or the Jewish one. So I'd give that a 30% chance. But of course, there's going to be huge resistance from all the other religions and non-religious people in the process. So that would be my take on what I've heard today. Thank you.
Is there any question based on what you've said or your evaluation?
I just want to, you know, I'm very jealous of God's right. You know, I love my God. I love God. I truly respect what you stand for. But for me to hear that God being unfair or unjust, I'm in no position to say that. I think what led to that is our perception of this world. We're here to be tested, all of us. God put us on earth to go through another test because our father basically, you know, ate from the tree. So we have to be sent down here to. So this is a test. But that test comes with a privilege, which is making choices. And unfortunately, the world have not been making wise choices. Like I said, God wrote death upon all of us. We're all going to die. Nobody can deny this fact. But this doesn't mean that you drive it. No, like war, like killing, you know, do the right thing, you know. Why would you go and take the land of other people just under some made up heretical notions that you made yourself believe in it? For God is testing us, so he's in control and he's driving it. You see, I don't know, Dr. James, if you ever heard the perspective of the people of Gaza on what's happening to them. They actually think that this is a blessing.
I don't think
so. Yeah, whoever dies goes to paradise. Imagine that mindset. And whoever is suffering is expiation of the sins.
Well, suffering. They've been suffering for 15 years at least. And
more than that. But you see, that's their perspective. If when you have faith, you know, I came across this Franklin, I think Adler. I think it's called logotherapy, something like that, or you know, the will to meaning. You know, that you have a meaning for your suffering. I'm suffering for paradise. I'm suffering for that mindset. You can defeat it but when you look at these things without that mindset, without the belief in God, without it's a testing world, there are consequences for this. There are rewards for this. When you lack all these variables, you're certainly going to conclude that questioning mark regarding, you know, the actions of God.
Well, I accept that they might be looking forward to some kind of paradise, but I'm afraid what they're going through at the moment is far from that, and it's not acceptable, and we shouldn't allow it to be going on. The international community is fighting against it with law and little else, some politics, a little bit of media, very little, and we are surely responsible as believers in righteousness to try and help them. It's not good enough to say that God will sort them out or give them paradise in the end. They're suffering terribly at the moment. Even children who don't, have no concept of God probably are suffering. They're freezing to death because the Israelis, the Zionists, have stopped the food lorries, the energy, cut off the electricity, the water, the sewage. You know, it's a crime against humanity that we cannot sit here and just allow some deity that, we've got no proof of existence, beg your pardon, but that's my view, is going to sort out for us.
I can prove he exists.
Yes, I'm sure you can, but you won't prove it to me.
Well, thank you for that, James. I hear both perspectives. I understand. Obviously, the current situation is unbelievable. Now, I think Baba Yunus, can you hear me?
Can I just say something regarding sitting here? I wish there is more I can do, but as a Muslim, I have to abide by the laws of the land where I live. I can only voice my, objection and concern. I take the pulpit every week and I speak out against Biden, against the Zionist, and as long as I'm allowed to. That's our forum today, I think, was, inspired by, and us loving. But what more can you do when you got the leaders of the world, the president of the United States, the prime minister of Israel, believing in that greater Israel and the establishment of the state of Israel, even if it comes at the corpse of children? What can you do? There is not much that you can do, except you believe in God. You believe that that's a comforting side of things, that he's in control. He given us a formula that these children who are suffering, they will be rewarded. And the people who are persecuting them, they will be punished.
I'm sorry, that really doesn't make sense. You cannot be rewarded in the sense of feeling any benefit once you're dead, unless you believe in an afterlife. But
that's a problem.
Is an oxymoron. Life ends, and that is the end of it. You have to have feeling, you have to have blood circulating, you have to have food, water, and all that sort of stuff to sustain life. As far as I know, the people who are buried under the rubble in Gaza are not getting that kind of decency.
Can I interject?
Yeah, carry on, Clive. Yeah, go on.
I mean, first and foremost, I'm not going to delve into the existence of God. I think I was probably not far away from where James is several years ago, but the more I learn, the more I know that I'm a part of the universe, a part of this conscious energy, but I'm not going to debate that. You either intuit that or you don't, but everybody is on their own journey. I think Imam Karim's claim that I have to live by the laws of the land. I think in terms of what we're going through and what is becoming evident in ever more graphic detail is that the law is not about justice. The law, I won't go into detail, but the law is about commerce. And all of our institutions, governments, local councils, corporations, NGOs, they're all engaged in criminal behavior, highly criminal behavior. International Criminal Court is there as a fig leaf, which is there more to punish the enemies of Western hegemony rather than to bring real justice. And whatever may have been said, it's unlikely that Netanyahu will ever appear in the International Criminal Court or wherever else they may try to take him. So who can stop this war? We can. It is our support of these criminal institutions, paying our taxes, paying debts, paying rents, paying charges, paying fees. We have to withdraw our consent from this system. If we want this genocide to stop, if we want the craziness of NATO trying to fight a proxy war in Ukraine, if we want to solve all these injustices, we personally have to take a stand against the structure within which we are operating, because it is clearly criminal. It is clearly corrupt. There is plunder going on wholesale. This is not just a war on the people of Gaza. This is not just a war on the people of Ukraine. This is a war on us all, through the COVID vector, through climate change, green agenda, through the war on farming in the UK. There is wholesale war on farming, paying farmers not to grow food, removing all support for those involved in the food industry, whilst the retail giants are putting more and more poisons into our food. The American wildfires, these are deliberate. These are not accidental. These are deliberate acts, and we are responsible. We individually and collectively are responsible, as long as we continue to vote and pay our taxes and feed the debt machine. Then it is our responsibility. So if we want this war to stop, we have to withdraw our consent, withdraw our compliance, and let these people know that they have no power. And the more we do that, then the quicker the system will collapse, because this is all about money and wealth extraction.
Well, I accept what you say. I tried 4 times to take Tony Blair to court to stop
the court. When you understand the court system, James, you realise that's a futile exercise.
It's not a futile exercise.
It is futile because the law is governed by the same malign forces. It is a satanic system that is not about achieving justice. It's about feeding off the human cattle, us. And the only way we can stop it is refuse to be fodder for this genocidal machine.
It's a cynical view, if I may say so.
No, it's a rational view based on understanding the law, its origins, and where it comes from.
No, I mean, thank you very much. I'm sure, James, you've missed a lot, but I'm sure we could go on. But I just want to use the final few minutes to be positive. Already, Baba Yunus, who is the chairman of the Africa Islamic Economic Forum, he's interested in collaborating with James Tinney. I'll put them in touch with Clive and Simon. But one final point, since we got 2 American colleagues, and thank you. Rabbi Benjamin and Imam Karim, both of you are in the US. You are, well respected in your scholarly, religious, and maybe international networks, yeah? Is there anything you want to, any question you want to ask each other whilst you have this opportunity? Because from Global Vision angle, it's the first time you've had a US imam and a US Jerusalem rabbi together. Is there anything you want to say or suggest to each other? You there, Rabbi Benjamin?
Yeah, here, hold on.
Yes, anything you want to say in this context?
1 second, let me look something up here. I mean, as I wrote in the paper that I sent out to everybody, I have a little different view than what's been presented here. I believe that I think the situation is a lot more positive. That it's a matter of of building ourselves, of imitating the prophets. I mean, you could never imagine, the prophet Moses, peace be upon him, and the prophet Isa, Jesus, and Muhammad. You can never imagine them fighting each other the way we see their followers are fighting today.
Yes, we agree. Certainly Global Vision agrees with that.
And so what's happening is we see a lot of, like I mentioned before, Bilam, sought to have all the nations, Midian and Moab, to fight the children of Israel because he made them afraid. There were a lot of things said about Israel, that they were going to attack, that they were going to take over their country and stuff like that. And these were all the words of Bilam. And at least from a Torah point of view, what he said was wrong. There's the one verse, the Quran puts it very beautifully. It says, hold fast, all of you together, the rope of Allah, because, and don't be divided among yourselves. That we believers should not be divided among ourselves, because we were enemies, but he brought us together, brought our hearts together. And we were at the brink of fire, and he saved us from it. And, this sums it up just wonderfully. You know, there was a time when people had different views about what's important in life, but the whole concept, what we saw in the 12 tribes of Israel, what we see in the Khilafat of Medina, the Compact of Medina, there was allowing the people to work together under a single system and recognize each other as believers and build something good. But so to each, there's another beautiful verse. In Surah Baqarah, that it says, to each is you of a goal to which God turns you. And Ibn Kathir writes that this is a direction of prayer, and referring to, you know, you're praying towards Jerusalem or you're praying towards Al-Makkah. And it says you should strive together as a race towards all that is good. Wherever you are, Allah will bring you together. And I pray that from this meeting and the talks that we have together, that indeed God should bring us together, and we should stop seeing the deficiency in each other, that we shouldn't see differences between, you know, I mean, we're all belonging to we have to belong to the true religion, the religion of Adam and all the prophets. It's one God, the last day, and good deeds. And this is something that encompasses everybody here. And, you know, I hope that this meeting will bring us together. So I you know, praise, you know, Sheikh Karim for what he's doing. He should make people stronger in their faith. I believe that's a good thing. And as I said, you know, a Jewish person believes that there's multiple covenants in the world. And I believe that he's, you know, believes the same God that I do. He believes that the last day he's doing good deeds. So as far as I'm concerned, he's my co-religionist. And we have to work together to make this world better. And I pray that we'll do that.
Thank you very much. Any final words, Imam, from your side? Any comments about eschatology involving Muslims, Christians, and Jews in these very, what's the word, turbulent times? I think that key word is important. Very turbulent.
Yeah, like I you know, I teach and I learned, choosing what to believe and who you believe in is a God-given right. That's what we call the freedom of choice, you know, God-given to every human. And I think the challenge is to have tolerance, not in beliefs, because I believe my way is the way to paradise, not your way. Otherwise, I would have endorsed your way. But I will accept your choice of a way. There is no harm in that, you know, and we can work together for the goodness of both of us and for the goodness of humanity. Certainly, we can transcend beyond that. That's why I communicate with a lot of Jewish rabbis, with a lot of Christian priests who we actually run pantries together to feed the people here, you know, Colorado, you know, the people who are in dire need. And so we can work together for a common agenda, but without compromising my faith. You know, the verses that you read are addressing, if you look at them carefully, they are addressing the believers, the people who believe in the messengers, all of them.
Well, Tabari writes about that. He writes about Jews and Christians who accept the message, who continue in their own path. So the believer can be a larger message than just.
Like I said, you know, you can choose who you want to be, and I must respect that, and in no way I should force my way on you. But
this is Tabari.
Yeah, when it comes to beliefs, and you know, my faith, my belief system, or what we call creed, is that you have to believe in all the messengers. For me, a Jew lacked Jesus and lacked Muhammad. For me, a Christian lacked Muhammad.
We should talk about that sometime. It would be a nice discussion.
Yeah.
Actually, can I just come in there?
But again,
sorry, carry on,
again, 1 second here, because you're using verses that addresses believers, people who believe in all these messengers, and place no distinctions between them. These verses are not addressing.
We don't verses, making distinctions between them either. But I'll have to explain that to you.
Yeah. These verses are not talking about someone who believes Jesus is born from adultery or Muhammad is a fake messenger. They don't address those people here.
As I said, let's talk about that. It's time for that's a good discussion for another time. But I don't think you have the. Well, we should talk sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, let me wrap up things positively. By the way, the last point you made, Brother Imam Karim, in my opening remarks of this event, I mentioned that all the problems in the world, if I remember what I said, can be greatly resolved, if not totally, by people listening, and not just listening, you're listening to me, but understanding each other. If you just look at this event, for instance, today, unfortunately, some of the speakers did come for quite a long session, but they weren't able to listen to everyone. Now that is important, because by listening to everyone completely, we get a better understanding of the other person, other perspectives, and where the commonality. So the point I'm making is it's a challenge. One final suggestion I've got to make. I fear, well, I'm taking seriously what I heard, especially from the Rabbi Benjamin and the Imam. We're in a serious time, right? You're talking about wars, crashes, and we're talking about the Holy Land. I've got a suggestion. I think if we agree that Jerusalem is going to be the place, let's call it the place, in world history, I think, luckily, brother, I've been to Jerusalem, by the way, and Mecca and Medina. I think, Rabbi Benjamin, we need to make an effort, a bigger effort, to bring together more rabbis and imams and other scholars online. Maybe offline, obviously face-to-face. So I might be in touch with you guys to discuss that. How we can bring, I agree with Dr. James Ring, regardless of different interpretations, what has happened is happening in Gaza. It goes beyond words, right? And we can't just conceptualize it or whatever. We need to be spurred to even greater action to stop, not just stop it, because I looked at, I've been looking at many videos, thousands of videos. I was looking at the demonization of the Arabs, Palestinians, by many Israelis. There is no empathy from what I saw on many videos, by ordinary Israelis about the bombing. They're not human. The animal, they're animals, So I think we need to acknowledge that the current situation, as Dr. James said, is totally, we can't use words to describe the situation, right? And the least we can do, if we agree, well, you obviously agree, Rabbi Benjamin, you're in Jerusalem and US. That's good you're there. You have a presence, you have a network. And Brother Imam Karim, I agree with you. The center, the Islamic world or the future is going to be Jerusalem. So we should start making more efforts to bring, especially if we believe in tolerance, especially Muslims and Jews, obviously Christians, especially academics and religious leaders together. This is not the place to discuss it now, but is that something you're agreeable, maybe as a next event, if I do one? What's your view on that, Rabbi Benjamin? What's your view on that, Brother Imam Karim?
It's acceptable. It's fine. I wrote down at the talk that I gave was based on an article that I wrote, and Imam Karim can look at what I wrote to see where I'm coming from, if he's interested.
I think the disadvantage I had, Rabbi, that I missed your talk, and probably that wasn't fair to you.
Well, it's all written down. You can look at it online.
Yeah, definitely, I will do that. I will do that. But
I sent the link in the chat here.
Like I said, you are one of those people who follow the pure consciousness, you know, about what is right and what is wrong. I have met many of you, and I really appreciate you. You know, although I may sound a little bit harsh in the area of creed, but I do appreciate you as a person.
Oh, you're doing good work.
Yeah, you know,
you're strengthening Iman. That's very important.
Yeah, you know, and we even in my talk, I always, like I did today, I always try to distinguish between the Jewish and the Zionist, because not every Jew is a Zionist. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very important point. By the way, Brother Imam AbuZaid, there his speech has been put on the chat. On the chat, the link is there, so you can get that. So let me end the conversation before we all go. It's been a long day.
I really have to. You're gonna end. Sorry.
Yeah, no, of course we have to end. Everyone wants to go. So I just want to thank everyone. Although there weren't many people, it wasn't meant for many people. We're trying to build deep knowledge of the times we're in and what's going to happen. So thank you for those who've joined us. Some came and left already. So thanks everyone. If you have any comments, you've got my email and my WhatsApp. Please relay that to me. Clive, if you can do anything on the recording, let me know, or Simon. And
I think Simon's got the first session, and with luck, I'll have the second session.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, God bless, and thank you all for your participation. And Brother Imam Karim and Rabbi, well, everyone really, I will be in touch with you to discuss, because this is a work in progress. This, to me, to Global Vision, this wasn't just a talk shop. We also have our electronic forum, a live forum. So it's a work in progress. So I will liaise with you and think, because the current situation is, what's the word? It's very turbulent, to say the least. And we have to think about the next steps. So thank you, everyone, and God bless. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay.
Shalom. Thank you.
Salam.
God bless.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you, everyone.